For this week's political figure episode, we've got what would happen if you threw Al Gore, Ralph Nader, and Alex Jones into a black hole and they morphed into a singularity coming out the other side. Robert Kennedy Jr. Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. was born January 17th, 1954 in Washington, D.C. Obviously the son of Robert Kennedy and the nephew of John F. Kennedy, he would arguably go on to become the looniest of the FK franchise. Whew, check your air filters, folks. Being born into arguably the most cursed family in Washington history, his father was assassinated when he was 14 years old. You never get these stupid things to line up. After his father's assassination, he moved in with a surrogate family in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where he would finish out schooling. He'd get his undergrad from Harvard, because, Kennedy. After getting his BA in American History and Literature, he studied at the London School of Economics for a time before getting his Juris Doctor from the University of Virginia School of Law. After graduating in 1982, he got sworn in as the Assistant District Attorney for Manhattan, and then he failed the bar exam, so he resigned in 1983. Apparently, he was partying like Nikki Sixx at the time because he got caught with heroin soon after and was sentenced to 2 years probation in 1984, of which he only served a year, because again, Kennedy. Being rich and well-connected has its perks, apparently. After his probation, he joined the River Keepers as an investigator and was promoted to senior attorney in 1985 when he finally passed the bar. And thus began a long career of environmental litigation and activism. He became a partner at environmental law firm Morgan & Morgan, would eventually start his own environmental law firm called Kennedy & Madonna. He founded the Pace Environmental Litigation Clinic, and after his success with River Keepers, he started the Water Keepers Alliance, which is an umbrella organization that is franchised off into Sound Keepers and Lake Keepers and Bay Keepers, Canal Keepers, Coast Keepers, my sister's keeper, all the keepers. And through all this, he has racked up some really impressive wins for environment, both legislatively and publicity, mostly revolving around water rights and water protection. Why is the 10 gone? Why is the 10 millimeter always gone? Here it is. He got the Remington Arms Skeet Team to stop shooting lead shot into the Long Island Sound. He got GE and Consolidated Edison to stop discharging pollution waste and clean up legacy pollution. He's forced compliance with the Clean Water Act. He got ExxonMobil to clean up tens of millions of gallons of refinery spills and legacy pollution. He helped orchestrate the New York Watershed Agreement. He litigated on behalf of Native Americans against Ford Motor Company for dumping toxic waste on tribal land. He's sued Monsanto for Roundup giving people cancer. The list goes on. In addition, he's also dabbled in venture capital with renewable energy firms. In fact, he was one of the first investors in Tesla. And after hearing all this, you might think, well, hey, he's probably not such a bad guy, and you're not wrong, but he gets a tad loony from time to time. And this is where he starts to get all Ralph Nader. He's fought against offshore wind farms on behalf of commercial fishing ventures, fought against nuclear and hydroelectric energy, often taking an idealistic stance, fighting against better systems and against progress because they are imperfect, all while leaving more imperfect and more damaging systems in place and blocking the progress that would make our better but imperfect systems less imperfect. Sometimes a small win is better than no win, and like Ralph Nader, Bobby Jr.'s attempts to do good often end up doing more harm than they help. And like Ralph Nader, Bobby Kennedy is now running for president when it's not the thing that's going to do anybody any good. So you probably get the Al Gore with the environmentalism and the Ralph Nader with the activism that can sometimes be a little too idealistic. But where does the Alex Jones fit into my black hole singularity trifecta analogy? Well, I'm glad you asked. Old Bobbert goes hard on conspiracy theories. Not quite 5G is turning the frogs gay hard, but fucking close. While claiming to not be an anti-vaxxer, he is probably the foremost anti-vaxxer. He's the chairman of Children's Health Defense, an organization that attempts to blame things like ADHD, autism, food allergies, autoimmune diseases, etc., on things like vaccines and fluoride in drinking water and aluminum and wireless communications. And if you've seen any anti-vaccine advertisements on Facebook, there's pretty much a 50-50 chance it was his organization that put them there. He also has some really weird views about HIV and AIDS. Like, he denies that they exist or they do exist, but AIDS isn't caused by HIV, or I don't know. It's fucking hard to follow. But in a way, it's hard to blame him for being a little nutty. You can't spell conspiracy without Kennedy. Don't look that up, just take my word for it. But when both your uncle and your father were assassinated, and there's been long-running conspiracy theories about both of those murders, and your 15-year-old cousin was convicted of murdering a 15-year-old girl, Martha Moxley, and of course there's theories that he is innocent, and his second of 3 wives hung herself after supposedly reading in his journal about sexual encounters with nearly 40 women. Homie should have taken up golf, because he's apparently got some Tiger Woods game going on. Anyway, you have to be a little understanding as to why he might be a tad bit more susceptible to conspiracy theories than most. So take Bobby for what you will. He's certainly a character. Definitely a narcissist, a little unhinged, obviously not a great husband, and probably not the best father. He often seems to miss the forest for the trees and the flowers for the bees. It's not a real saying, I just made that up, but I liked that it rhymed. And occasionally he seems to have a penchant for breaking the things he's trying to fix. But in the end, he has done some great things for our country and its people. He's done a lot to help protect the environment, and he is a perfect example that people are flawed. Some people are more flawed than others, and some flaws are more apparent and ridiculous than others. But we need to weigh people's attributes against their flaws to find the true measure of a person. What the measure of Bobbert Jr. is here, I can't say. And he's still out there doing dumb shit, so that could continue to change. But just keep in mind when you rightfully mock his idiocy that there is still a couple things that we all owe him thanks for.